Hi, I'm Leilani with Leilani Drinks the Brown Stuff, and thank you for joining us for another episode in my backyard where it's wonderful now. It's finally cooling off and I'm happy. So this week's episode is based on me walking through my local grocery store and taking a double take. What? I mean, is that racist? That's the first thing that came into my mind. I mean, and why not? Look at this. Old Crow, Jim Crow, James. It's so close. Anyway, so tonight we are getting into Dr. James C. Crow's Old Crow, the original sour mash. The original sour mash Kentucky straight bourbon. It is 80 proof. It is 40% ABV. And it costs about 10 bucks. So I had to get it because I mean, racism for $10? Come on, why not? And let's find out about it at least, because you never know. And I'm sure most people have walked by this, looked at it, and have already made their assumptions. So can we judge this label by what we think it is? Here's a little history. So, Dr. James C. Crow was a Scottish immigrant, and he has actually been credited as the originator, the perfecter of the sour mash. He was also a chemist and a physician that graduated from medicine from Edinburgh University in 1822. Now, he moved from Philly to Kentucky around 1823, and that's where he worked as a distiller. From there, he went over to, if I'm correct, Woodford, Kentucky. And from there, he started experimenting, and that was around 1835, if I'm correct. And he ended up using a saccharometer, which measures the sugar content. From there, that is where the litmus paper test for testing mash acidity comes from. This dude. So he learned to basically age his whiskey, which everyone was doing by shipping or moving. That's how they were learning about it. Literally, him being a chemist, he would sell his regular whiskey and call it Crow. And then when he aged it, he called it Old Crow. So through this kind of digging up, it's not racist. And Dr. James C. Crow is a doctor, a chemist. Then James moved to Melville, and he ended up running the old Oscar Pepper Distillery for like 20 years. From there, he ended up, the old Pepper Oscar Distillery, Woodford Reserve now. And some of you guys know that name. And then from there, he ended up going to the Johnson Distillery and working there until his death around 1856. Now, W.A. Gaines and Company ended up taking over the brand, his name, distilling the bourbon. But the original recipe actually died with the original creator. After the Civil War, with the huge amount of stock of this whiskey that they had left, they decided to give Old Crow a facelift because the old label had Dr. James' face on it, and they switched it out for this Black Crow. Towards the second half of the 20th century, the distiller at that time ended up making a really bad mass production in the mash mistake. Dun, dun, dun. And it caused like the whole flavor of the whiskey to change. With that, because of the distiller being unwilling or unable to correct his mess and allowing it to go on, there was basically a loss of loyal fans. Around 1987 is when the parent company, the National Distillers, ended up selling the company to Jim Beam. And now it's under the Beam Suntory umbrella. And it has the same mash bill and yeast of Jim Beam. And that's the reason why I have a problem with the line of the original sour mash. Now, they could mean, obviously, that it's the first one of its kind sour mash, but it kind of leads you to believe that it's still the same formula, which it isn't. It is now Jim Beam. So let's crack this baby open and get it started. Screw top for $10. All right. I could smell it. I could really smell it. I can smell it from here. It smells like ethanol. I smell that real good. Please smell something else. I smell orange. I don't like what it smells, the orange. It's never a good sign. All right, but we gonna try this tonight. Yeah. I don't want to do a woman's sport tonight. All right, so even though I didn't want to put any more, I guess I'm gonna have to. My producer behind the camera says woman's pour. Anything to make this take a little longer? I smell a little sweetness, like a little honey. Honey's good. And ethanol again. There's a lot of alcohol. But maybe that's the bourbon way, and I have to get used to that. Yeah, zest, ethanol. Let's try it. I didn't like how that opened up in my mouth. Okay. Okay, you know what? I was gonna go ahead and read all these fun little facts for you guys and drink this at the same time. I don't know if I could do it, but we're gonna get through a couple of these, all right? Let this marinate in my chest for a second, because I don't know how I feel about it, and I don't wanna go off on it yet. All right, so this, and I don't think it's this flavor, was the favorite of our American general and our 18th president, Ulysses S. Grant. Great little tidbit story. It is said to have happened that his haters hated him so much that they creeped around to Abraham Lincoln to be like, we need to charge him for being a drunk. And President Lincoln replied, supposedly, "Excuse me, gentlemen, do either of you know where General Lee procures this whiskey? Because if I find out, I'm gonna send it to every general in the field." You gotta love Lincoln for shutting that hate down. Let's try this again. I don't know what that is, but it like hits the mouth and it kind of opens up, but it's like a zesty orange, weird kind of just, and it's not good. Maybe it'll get better as I'm doing this. Maybe, and then we could, talk or something. So this is also seems to have been the favorite of a lot of our American writers, like Mark Twain, who ended up visiting the distillery around the 1880s. William Faulkner, and they say Hunter S. Thompson as well. It got to be that the manufacturers loved this kind of publicity so much that they took an ad in the paper at the time declaring that they would pay $250 to all the writers and people who happened to mention Old Crow in whatever they were writing about. Talking about bringing a brain, but brand name placement at the time. So early, like they already knew. So Old Crow was doing it. All right, you guys. It's getting worse. I will make it through this. Can I just read off the rest now? Okay, thank you. It is also in books mentioned by Japanese author Murakami Haruki around 1985, and it was called The Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. It's also throughout the 1966 Newbery Award-winning novel Up a Road Slowly. In movies, 1953, John Wayne, Trouble Along the Way. He's drinking this at the bar. Yuck. 1974, Chinatown, Jack Nicholson. In the first scene, he ends up pouring this for his client. I don't think he liked his client very much. Oh, he didn't like him at all. That's so nasty. In music, 1986, Beastie Boys, Slow Ride on License to Ill. I'm fly like an eagle and I drink Old Crow. 1975, who I didn't know, Waylon Jennings, All Around Cowboy on Dreaming My Dreams. So he rolls up a smoke and sips his Old Crow. Old Crow has been around, y'all. And it's not racist, but it's nasty. And I can't. Old Crow, Leilani drinks the brown stuff, gives you 0 kisses. 0. You nasty. And you have to stop making this. So I have to say, all the facts, all the love, all the heart of Dr. James C. Crow, that's what they were talking about. Because there's no way in hell that they are talking about this nastiness. That no one would be drinking, well, maybe the Beastie Boys, but nobody else. Disgusting. Don't buy, don't drink. Mama's saving you $10. Cheers.